Hi, good afternoon. Got something to tell you that surprised me. So October was Black History Month, and for the very first time in my life I was actually asked to do a talk on Black History Month in a church. So I was really excited about it, and straight away I was inspired. My business, my channel is called Theology, and FI is short for my name Fiona, but also the first two letters of the two words faith inspired. So my channel is called Faith Inspired Ology Knowledge. And when I was asked to do my talk for the church, I said to myself, I would like to talk about Black history in relation to Christianity. So I started doing the research, and I do a lot of this work anyway as part of my PhD. So I've been educating myself in the journey of people like my grandparents who came to England in the 50s. My mother came in the early 60s, and their stories are often told in relation to Windrush. So we know about Windrush. Some of us know that that relates to the ship that came, that brought some of the people. The language normally used is migrants, and I'm going to say that they weren't migrants, because migrants come from other countries that are not part of Great Britain. My parents and my grandparents came from Jamaica, which was a colony. So they're not migrants, they are expats. So it was Anthony Reddy who mentioned that one day, and I thought, good point. If they had come from Canada or Australia, they would have been called expats. But because of the colour of their skin, they've been called migrants. So I have taken back, and I now own the word expat for my grandparents and my parents. Okay, they weren't migrants. I am a descendant of expats who came over from Jamaica. So I'm doing my research and I'm crafting this message, and I'm thinking, wow, this is really useful. This is really useful. But how many of you know, in a standard church, when you're invited to preach, and I attend, I'm part of a denomination that is white-led, very multicultural, but a white-led organisation. And the standard when you're invited to preach in one of our churches is 30 minutes. You can push it to 40 and you'll get people tapping their fingers and looking at the clock. In some of our churches, not all of them, certainly not the one that I go to. Anyway, I'm invited to a church. It's a proper Black Pentecostal church. They send me a message, Fiona, we're giving you an hour. Would that be enough? I thought, wow. It's a while. It's been a while. Last time I preached in Jamaica, that's what they do. They give you an hour, and the people in the congregation are engaged for an hour. They are listening. They are amening. They will stand up and clap. They will support. They draw the word out of you. So I thought, an hour, this is great. But I knew I still had more material than I would be able to use. Crafted my message. And as I crafted my message, I thought, you know what? This is not just a message. This is a course. I've made it into a course. Put that to one side. The thing that shocked me in my research was to find that the rumour that I'd heard about there being a Bible specially created for Black people was not a rumour. It was really true. And not only was it really true, you could actually still get copies of it today. So I got myself a copy, because what I was told was that, and to be honest, it's something that I heard growing up. I heard Black people saying they hide things from us. We haven't got the full Bible. And that has come from, I think, this particular thing that I'm going to show you today. I now have a copy of what is called the Negro Bible. Let me just show you, because some of you won't believe that it exists, but it does. Here it is. Okay, the Negro Bible. Okay, this, and it's a pretty heavy book, big thick book. So you would look at that and think, oh, Fiona, what's wrong with that? It just says the Bible for people of colour, for Black people. You see the print, it's quite big. But the interesting thing about this Negro Bible is this. I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm going to tell you this. 80% of the Holy Bible, the Word of God, and when I say this, I'm not exaggerating. When I realised this, I did cry. I shed a tear when I realised that the leaders in the Church of England, because they were the ones who put this together, actually took the time to sit down with the Word of God, the Bible, that Christians know and love and honour, the written Word of God. They saw it fit to take the Word of God, go through it page by page, and wherever there was a story or information that talked about liberation, nah, black people don't need that, rip that out. Where it talked about freedom, black people don't need that, rip that out. 80% of the content of the Bible was removed so that black people, when they'd got to the stage where, because remember, in our history, as somebody who is of Caribbean heritage, when enslaved people went to America, it was illegal for an enslaved person to learn how to read. Now, there was nothing wrong with the intelligence of enslaved people, because had they lived in their own cultural dynamics, they would have learned to read their own language in the same way that the Enlightenment and our progression around the world has led to the development of language and writing. It was happening on the continent of Africa, not just in Europe. On the continent of Africa, people could read. Okay. So what we had was a people who were told that they were less than human, and their slave owners used the Bible to legitimize what they were teaching those black people. And it's a shameful thing, and I am thankful that the people who were doing this were so convinced that they were right. They have kept records. They've kept records. They've written down what they did because they were proud of what they did. They were proud of how badly they treated black people. They were proud of the fact that they put a price on their heads. They were proud of the fact, and you know, there's a lot of things. We're not going to go into all of the despicable acts that took place. But what is more despicable is the fact that they used the Word of God to justify everything that they did. So the Bible that they created for people in the Caribbean was specifically redacted to ensure that black people did not rebel. There are also stories of how not only were Christian people who were black allowed to eventually allowed to learn to read, because they were reading a redacted Bible. The whole plan of the Church of England, because it was them who created it, was to ensure that no black person would ever get the full knowledge of the truth of the gospel, because if they did, they wouldn't want to be a slave anymore, because they realised that the Bible taught liberation. They realised that the Bible taught about equality. They realised that who the Son sets free is free indeed. They realised that in the book of Genesis, God created two types of human beings, male and female. They realised that. They realised that there wasn't a distinction between ethnicities. God just created two people. And the result of the DNA mixes throughout generations has resulted in people who have different skin colours, ethnicities, cultures, etc., etc. But this decision to make colour the reason to differentiate between people as better or worse than, with whiteness being the standard for better, is something that human beings made up. God didn't, there's nothing in the Bible that gives us a hierarchy for skin colour. Even the way that translators have used blackness as a negative trope in the Bible, when there are also examples in the Bible that, again, I'm not going to go into detail today, where we talk about being hidden under the shadow of darkness, and that not being a bad thing, but that being a protection, a cloak of protection. So when you read the Bible, there are positive ways that darkness is described, as well as the negative. There is that blinding white light, and there is nothing nice about blinding whiteness. We also have a God on the throne in the book of Revelation with woolly hair, white woolly hair. How many white woolly haired white people do you know? And I was always taught that God was white, and it did confuse me that the God in the book of Revelation had an afro. Sounded like he had an afro to me. Anyway, I digress. What I wanted to talk to you about today was my faith-inspired message, and the fact that I found out that there is a Negro Bible. The fact that I found out that somebody created a Bible to ensure that enslaved people stayed enslaved. So the reason why I'm doing this is to celebrate the fact that to be a Christian and to be black in this day and age, I think, is a miracle, a sign and wonder, because you need great faith to be able to unpick the injustices that were inflicted upon us as a people, to rise above that and to celebrate the God of the universe. I think is a miracle, sign and wonder. I have faith, trust, hope, belief and experience and knowledge of who God is, and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm a Christian, unashamedly so. I will live this faith until I leave the planet. I have no regrets for the fact that I've been a Christian for most of my adult life now. I have chosen this path, and I have no regrets, none whatsoever. I have listened to scientific reason and arguments for and against the case for a God, and I respect everybody's right to believe or not believe. I choose to believe, and I'm happy to say that I'm a Christian, and I love the life that I live as a Christian. I love the purpose that comes from being a Christian, and I thoroughly enjoyed my opportunity to share with a church here in Manchester the story of how important it was for us as God's people to understand the contributions that have been made to the Christian faith story in this world by people of colour. The people who have taught, preached, taken the word of God as missionaries all over the world. Missionary societies were not just led by people who are white. The Ethiopian eunuch in the Bible, the church fathers in the Bible who were around the table were not all white Europeans. People of colour are littered throughout the Bible, and the Bible lands are, where are they? Which continent? We talk about the Middle East. I'm sorry, but the Middle East is attached to Africa. It's part of the same continent. It's part of that land mass. Okay, that's where it is. But because so much negative is attributed to Africanness, and why is that? Again, That's not what this is about. I'm celebrating the fact that there is so much positive information in our history as Black people. My concern is that when I finished preaching and spoke to people in the congregation, everybody said, Fiona, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Thank you so much. I didn't know. Thank you so much. I did not know. And so part of the reason why I'm doing this is because we need to know. And this is on the channel now, so hopefully you will share this with other people. And what I intend to do is break that message down into a series. I will do that as a series, as a mini series, and I will put it on the channel. So over the next few months, pray for me if you're people of prayer. I will create a mini series where I teach that message to you, so you'll have access to it, so that you can learn something about the history of people of colour and how they have been a part of the story of God. It is a story for people of all ethnicities, because the God of this world, who created human beings, saw it fit to create us with a multitude of skin colours, different eye colour. Oh my goodness, I think it's 65. I think 65 is the number. There are 65 different, and I'll correct it later if I'm wrong, 65 different skin colours. 65. And in a talk that I did some time ago, I explained that, and I said, you know, as human beings, we divide the world into 2 skin colours, black and white, and then sometimes we say there are 4. We say black, white, yellow and red. So for human beings, we just want to keep it simple, but there are 65, could be 45. There are a lot. I'll show you. I'll do another video where I explain it in detail, where all these skin colours come from, but just hear this. You can have the ethnicity of a Chinese person. You can come from Asia, say, and have exactly the same skin colour as a European. In my family, I'm considered to be dark skinned, but in my family, even though my parents are both black, in my family, I have relatives who pass as white. So you see them walk into the room, they don't have the nose that I've got. They've got the more European angular nose. You know, they don't have the lips. I'm obviously a black person, but they pass as white because they have more European features. So skin colour, as I said in my talk, it's just like the stupidest way you could ever think of to use as a way to divide people. But guess who invented that? Keep watching my channel. Keep watching my channel. I'm here to educate you, because you know what I realise? I realise that I don't know when I'm going to leave the planet. I don't know how long there'll be this medium called YouTube. Don't know. Don't have a clue. But if I can create something and put it out there, and it's there for a while, and it educates you and the next and future generations of people, and if somebody else comes along and adds to that body of knowledge, I think that's a good thing. I do think that we need to, as people of colour, we need to write our own story. Stop waiting for other people to write it. We need to write our own stories. And we need to celebrate who we are and the gift that we are to the world. There's so much that we have to give, to share. And if we don't speak it out, and if we don't tell our story, other people will tell a story about us. We need to write our own stories and celebrate the richness that we bring to God's story. That's it for today. Hope you've enjoyed my little talk. I hope to see you again on my channel. So my name is Fiona and my channel is called Fiology. Fi is short for Fiona, but it also stands for faith inspired, and ology stands for knowledge. I hope you've enjoyed my talk today. If you have, please share it with others, and I hope to see you again when I do the next one. Thank you. Goodbye.